Hello, 7th and 8th grade, and today, you got your theory assignment today, and for those of you that didn't or missed class, it should be on Canvas. If not, post it on Canvas, make sure it's there. Today, what we talked about is we talked about intervals. Now, intervals is the space between two notes that are stacked on top of each other or that are next to each other. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Intervals are the space, not the space, or the distance between two notes, essentially. Intervals are the distance between two notes. Okay? And how you count them is very, very important. All right? I'm sure you all can count because I know you can at least all count to four because we do stuff in four time. So, anyway, I'm trying to be funny. I'm not being funny. Let's just do something. So, for example, you have your first intervals, your second intervals, your third intervals, fourth, fifth, so on and so forth. But an interval, let me just show you an example of an interval. An interval, here's your big staff. An interval, for an example, would be how far is this note from this note? Okay? So you have to count from the bottom note to the top, or you can count top to bottom, but you primarily want to count from bottom to top. And here's how you have to do it. Whenever you count the first number, so you count up, one, the number one is always your first note. Let me visualize this for you, okay? So when we're counting to see the space between these two, the distance between these two notes, you always start with the bottom note, with the first note that you're comparing it to. So this is one, okay? All right, so we're on this first line. So this is one. Next, you have to go with this space. So this is two. This line has to be three. This line is four. So this is five. So this is a fifth because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes away. Or 5 notes apart. Okay? So that's a fifth. Remember, you have to count the note that you start with. You have to count usually the bottom note. Okay? Let's do just a quick clarification. Okay? If you have a note that is next to each other, like this. Okay? Like so. Okay? And we count again. Remember? You start automatically on one. This is one. Well, you don't go anywhere. So this is a first. This is the first interval. This is a fifth, an interval of a fifth. This is an interval of a first. It's the same note. Don't stress too hard about this. It's just counting. This video is not going to be terribly long because it's just counting. Okay? So, let's do a quick review. And let's kind of go over just a couple challenges. So, for example, let's say we have a note here and a note here. Okay? So, we have to figure out how far apart this note is from this note. All right, well, let's count. Start with the bottom note. That's one. Okay? 2, 3, 4. That makes this a fourth. You see how it's 1, 2, 3, 4 notes up? That makes it a fourth. All right? Now this one I'm going to pause after you try and figure out the answer. Okay? What if I did this and I did this one? Okay? I want you to pause the video and try to figure this out. Okay? Did you pause it? Or you just learned, okay, Mr. Williams, sure. Yeah, I'll pause it. You're just waiting for me to give you the answer. Well, either way, probably going to do that anyway. You guys got to learn this. Okay? So, what's the interval for this? For those of you that did take the pause and you just answered it correctly, good. The answer is it's a sixth. Yep, it's a sixth. Second guess myself there. It's a sixth. Now, why is it a sixth? So this is 1, which makes this 2, 3, 4, 5. I lied to you. It's a seventh. I'm sorry I was wrong. 7. Even I make mistakes. Often, actually. It's a 7th. There goes my eraser. All over my shoe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is a 6th, which makes this a 7th. So from this note to this note, it's a 7th. All right? One more check. Okay, ready? This is going to be a challenge. 2 here. This is going to be a little bit of a challenge. Okay? So please pause the video and try and figure this out. Okay? Okay. So, we start. This is 1, right? This is 1. Remember, there's technically a note here. Okay? There's technically a note that touches the bottom line of the staff. So it's right here. So we count this as 2. That's a 2. I know it's terrible, but it's a 2. So that makes this line 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That makes this an 8th. Or there's another word for it, which is kind of the reason why I brought up, where's Greg? Which is why I drew Greg the octopus. Hi, Greg. Another reason for the 8th is octave. Octo, octopus, Greg the octopus, octave, 8. 8th. The interval of an 8th is an octave. When we do scale, so 8th / octave. When we do scales, I know 7th grade we're still working on this, but 8th grade when we do scales in octaves. Scales are 8 notes, okay? Scales are 8 notes. My clarinet, this is actually similar to what your scale looks like, okay? Or should look like. I don't know. So octaves are 8 notes. Octaves, because here's the thing. For example, if we were to put this tonally, an octave, and I'm kind of sidetracking because I know we're just talking about intervals, so I'm kind of sidetracking, just bear with me. When we talk about an octave, for example, when we play the concert B flat scale, I'm going to go ahead and play for you. Gotta put the microphone away so it's not too loud. There's the high note. Okay? I want you to tell me what sound. This sounds, I'm going to play my low C and then I'm going to play my high C. Okay? Now notice I said my low C and my high C. See, I remember we talked about, gotta bring this down. Remember we talked about the musical alphabet continues? So, what I just played right there would be an octave. I played an octave scale and then I played the octave above. Now I'm going to play the octave above that. Or, so 1, 2, I'll play 8 notes. Anyway, sorry, I just messed around. So an octave is 8 notes up. C and C, there's 2 C's. So the higher C, that 8th note, is an octave above the low C. So if you ever hear me say, hey, I want you to play this an octave up, you play the A or you play a C just 8 steps higher. You play a C or a D. If I say play that D an octave higher, you play a D, you'll go da 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 to the next D. Because the alphabet, the musical alphabet just continues. So you'll go from C to C. So if I say play that C an octave higher, you'll go and then, so that's octaves. All right, you learn about them in scales more. We play octave to octave in scales. It's the same. Let me try this. An octave is the same note. It's just higher. It's just a higher. It's the same note. It's just a higher pitch. That's one way of saying it. That would have made sense instead of me just yammering on here saying random things. Okay, so again, intervals. Quick review. And then I'll let you go. Intervals are the spaces between notes, and you try and count bottom to top, and you have to start on the bottom note. So the bottom note that you're counting up from is always 1. It's always 1, and then you count up. Okay? So, there were several questions about this worksheet and what to put on the lines, okay? There should only be one answer on these lines, and it's a number, and it's one number, okay? I'm going to give you this first one right now. This first one right now is a 5th, okay? This first one is a 5th, okay? So if any of you get this wrong, it means you didn't watch the video. I'll even give you this last one here. This last one is also a 5th. This last one down here, it's also a 5th, okay? So if you get that wrong, I know you won't watch the video. All right? So, again, one number, that's the answers. All right? See you tomorrow.